Hello and welcome to the Cardiff Met Sports Coaching Hub podcast.
I'm Oli Lam.
And I'm Mike Castle.
We're here to bring you insights around all of the latest cutting-edge research within coach education and practice.
You can stay up to date with all of our latest episodes through the links in the podcast description below.
We hope you enjoy the episode. Okay, hello and welcome back to the Cardiff Met Sports Coaching Hub podcast. No guests as such today, but I am joined by my kind of co-host, Mike Castle, and then our director. Are you director? Is that your official title, Manuel?
I'm an email sender.
The orchestrator. I like that I'm kind of a co-host as well. I'm not actually a co-host.
Well, it was more I was thinking we never actually host together, really.
That's true.
So we can't be co-hosts. We're just both hosts separately.
Maybe we're missing a trick there.
Yeah, maybe. There's another name for that, I'm sure.
You've been together in the podcast before.
Not much recently.
Only
Not much
once?
recently now. Twice, maybe.
Once or twice.
Interviewed Robin, column, introductory podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a few. So we co-hosted together,
Yeah.
but normally we just hosting separately, says the email sender.
The email sender. Yeah, director, producer.
Perfect. Plenty of names, plenty of talents. Today, though, our podcast is all about CRiC and the upcoming CRiC conference. So Mike's going to chat us through what CRiC actually aims for, I believe.
Lovely hospital pass there. I've got to do this justice now. So CRiC is the cluster for research into coaching. So there's a bundle of universities and academics that feed into that particular cluster. Each year there's an annual conference and lots of staff, academics again, members of staff from national governing bodies, coaches, all land in one particular area and deliver their research and their findings at that particular conference. CRiC itself is one of the main objectives of CRiC is to try and promote interrogative research so that we can better understand what coaching is and also to try and inform the doing of the activity of coaching. And so as a community, as a group, as a body, CRiC is the way in which that's engendered. It brings people together to have those critical conversations. And so we'll be going to the CRiC conference in a little bit over a week's time. No, not a little bit over. The email sender.
In a couple of days' time.
When we release in the pod?
Yes.
A couple of days' time. So we'll be going to the CRiC conference in a couple of days' time. And we'll be exposing ourselves, I suppose, to lots of very new, recent, cutting-edge research from a whole host of academics. There's 40-odd oral presentations going on, poster presentations, keynotes from Professor Lars Tore Rongland from Norwegian School of Sports Science and Dr. Anna Stotter from Leeds Beckett as well, plus just plenty of networking opportunities and things like that across the 3-day weekend. So, yes, that's a little bit about CRiC and a little bit about what's coming up. And I guess what we're here to do today is to talk a little bit about what we're kind of looking forward to, why is the pod going there, what's, I suppose, the end goal really for us across the weekends. And, of course, you two are presenting, so no pressure, but a bit of showing off to do for you two.
Yeah, absolutely. Manuel and I have some presentations to prepare, although
Mine's ready.
Manuel's is ready. Mine's not quite yet, so I'd like to leave it a bit to the last minute. But going to CRiC is something we've gone to the past couple of years as kind of staff members and research students. But this year, obviously, going in a podcast capacity as well, aren't we, Manuel?
Yeah. Listening to Mike talking about the purpose of CRiC in producing cutting-edge research, it aligns neatly with our podcast. This idea of having research-informed conversations about coaching. I was reading through the CRiC website, and there's something there about research that is informed by a theoretical perspective, whilst written in such a way as to be accessible to a broad community of sports coaching scholars, which is also one of the aims of our podcast here, is to bring and to make accessible the cutting-edge research that is produced under the banner of the Hub to a range of coaching practitioners.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's plenty going on, of course, as Mike kind of alluded to earlier. Is there anything in particular that the two of you are most interested in?
It's always interesting to be in a space where a lot of like-minded, interesting people are in. I think just being there and the opportunity of chatting with all those people, it's always something to look for. I gotta admit that every single time that I've heard Lars speaking, he's very interesting. He's a very compelling speaker. I am very much looking forward to hear him. I don't know about you. What else?
Listen, I think I can always go for the old favourites, So I think some of Gethin's work on that cultural historical perspective and yours, Oli, I think it's going to be really interesting for me to listen to. Just off the back of what I've been doing in my own PhD for the last little while with Vygotsky's work, I think there's a lot of correlation there and some interest for me, but really excited to engage with some researchers from outside of Cardiff Met as well. Yeah. Noel Dempsey's work on that selection box framework looks really interesting. I've always been somewhat interested in Bernstein and his approaches because I guess of some of the correlation with Vygotsky's ideas as well. So I think that's probably one to keep an eye on for me, and hopefully we can drag him into the pod for a bit of a debrief after that as well.
Well, that's it, isn't it? We are also hoping to, as well as kind of covering this with a bit of a preview from ourselves that you're listening to now, we are hoping to kind of do a bit of recording at the CRiC conference as well, taking place in Northumbria, and hopefully we'll get some guests there and then. Mike, you're in charge of that, aren't you?
I will be, yes. I'm going to be lingering around outside of some of the parallel sessions and the keynotes, and I'll be trying to grab hold of people. So if you see a slightly nervous, bumbling young man, young being the operative word there, looking to try and ask you to come on the pod, please be nice. What we'd love to do is to get as many people into the room that we've got booked up and ready to go, and just give us a little bit of a debrief about the research that you've been doing, about what you've just presented at CRiC. So whether you've been doing a poster presentation, if you've done a keynote, or if you're in any of the other parallel sessions, we'd love to have you in for sort of 10 or 15 minutes to debrief your project, your research, the key findings, what that means for us as scholars, but also as coaching practitioners as well. And we'll use those as kind of bite-sized episodes, if you like, to again promote what's been going on at CRiC. We really want to share the success of CRiC, and also just try to provide, I guess, a vehicle for that wider dissemination. CRiC is a conference, and so we're paying our fees to go, and it's great to be in that community. But one of the things that we want to do is try and promote our work a little bit more widely as well. So if the podcast offers you that opportunity and you'd like to grab it, then come and grab me, come and speak to us. We'd love to have you on the pod for a bite-sized episode.
Yeah, absolutely. So for our listeners, next week we are releasing a series of bite-sized episodes, as Mike said, 10-15 minutes that we're hoping to release at least once per day. There's also something I haven't spoken about yet, which is the links between CRiC and SCR. So one of the things to look for in the conference is this panel with Robin and Charlie, where they're going to be talking about publishing in Sports Coaching Review. Particularly, I think the title of the presentation is something about demystifying the process of presenting. We will most likely record that one, so we'll make it available to our listeners on the podcast.
Yeah, so that's the plan, isn't it? And then also following the event, we'll be sitting with Ed Hall, who's kind of been organising the whole thing. So it's kind of been quite a big project, I think, considering the conference is over 3 days, quite a bit of travel for people like ourselves from Cardiff up to Northumbria. So he's been organising all that, and we're going to sit down with him, a week or so after the conference, Manuel, to chat about how it went and kind of all things like that.
And to explore what's next for CRiC, I suppose. Yeah. This is the sixth conference of CRiC, so it's been running for a little while, but there's a long old way ahead. So it'd be really interesting to pick Ed's brains on what's the plan for next year, years after, and things like that. What's the direction of CRiC? I think, like you said, Charlie and Robin's talk will sort of help us to demystify where coaching is going, and CRiC largely seems to sort of follow some of that direction. So yeah, looking forwards as well as reviewing what's just happened over that weekend in Northumbria.
I think something interesting that happens in these conferences, especially at CRiC, It happened last year in Liverpool in the symposium, that there was an effort to bring not only researchers but members of NGBs. And I'm curious to see the reaction of them again this year at the conference, and pick Ed Hall's brains on it.
Yeah, for sure. It's always interesting, isn't it? Kind of seeing the links there, because you get a lot of them wouldn't consider themselves purely researchers or purely work in an NGB background, but then some people maybe would. So a real mix of people. And I think I can speak for all of us when we say that's probably the best thing about these events, is just being able to mix, collaborate, meet new people within kind of a similar working space. So super looking forward to it, and hopefully all you listening are also attending this weekend. So we look forward to seeing you there too.
See you all there.
See you there.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cardiff Met Sports Coaching Hub podcast.
If you enjoyed the episode, leave us a rating and a review on your podcast platform. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe.
If you want to stay up to date with all of the latest work coming out of the Coaching Hub, please follow us on social media.
All the links to our social medias are in the podcast description below.